Welcome to Fur, Fins, and Feathers. This is our 24th week, and the show has been very successful, and we've now got many subscribers throughout southern New England, and every week we hear from more and more people. Today our guest is Lisa White, who is the Somerset and Swansea dog officer.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us about you've got a very busy job. Tell us about your role.
So I am the animal control officer for Swansea and Somerset. We service 2 towns, so we do have a shelter which holds up to 12 dogs and 6 or a lot more cats.
And where is the shelter located?
We're located at 68 Stevens Road in Swansea, and we take in stray dogs that are found as strays in both towns. We will hold them for a period of 7 days. If they are not claimed, then we go through the process of vetting them and putting them up for adoption. And we also, this is kitten season, so this time of year we're inundated with kittens. We have 6 adult cats at the shelter right now, and I anticipate taking in 1 kitten, and I'm taking in 3 more kittens today. So it's busy.
Are they feral cats?
The kittens, no, we get them. They're born outside, so they're born to feral parents, but we usually get them young enough that we're able to socialize them. We have a lot of volunteers who come in and work on nothing but socializing the cats.
This is very
Holding
interesting.
them, playing with them, letting them out, getting them used to being indoors. So yeah, it's a busy time of year, very busy. A lot of wildlife calls this time of year.
Talk about the wildlife.
Oh, wildlife.
We had an incident at my house.
I know, raccoons.
You heard about it.
Lots of raccoons. This year we've had a lot of problems. It just seems like a lot of raccoons have been orphaned, baby raccoons. We've picked up.
You got a frantic call from me.
We did, about raccoons living in your attic.
Yes.
Animal control basically will deal with any wildlife that is sick or injured or orphaned. We've been dealing with a lot of orphaned raccoons, possums that are hit by car. A lot of times if you check in their little sack, they have the baby possums that we've been able to get to rehabbers. So it's definitely a busy time of year for us with wildlife as well. Spring and summer, all the babies are being born. Raccoons like to find nice little nesting areas in people's attics and garages and stuff like that. So
now in the case, the exterminator
yes.
told me that those, I guess there were 2 raccoons
Yep.
that were up in my attic, and they were turned over to, are they sent to a rehabilitator?
I don't know what the exterminator policies are. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. When we pick up orphaned raccoons, baby raccoons, a lot of times we take them, people are cleaning out their attics and they come across, the baby raccoons are opening up walls and they're in the walls. Animal control will transport those babies to wildlife rehabilitators.
I think there was a baby in the wall.
In the wall, yeah, they get in the walls a lot. Yeah, it's a busy time of year. Raccoons, groundhogs, we get a lot of groundhog calls. Foxes, coyote. This year in Somerset, we had a lot of foxes making dens under people's sheds. And people were sending us videos of the baby foxes out and running around, and but it's not too much to panic about. They're out a lot this time of year because they do have babies. They're looking for more food. Their food source. They're out looking to feed the babies, so we do see them out a lot. So we tell people not to be overly concerned if they see a raccoon or a fox or a coyote out at some point during the day. It's not that unusual this time of year. So we tell people not to panic. Please don't touch wildlife. Don't try to feed them.
They're not playful little animals.
They're not playful little animals, no. And it's best that they not become accustomed to people. So this year it's been really busy with wildlife calls this year.
But for us, it was an expensive
Yes,
proposition.
yes, it is.
Talk about your work as volunteers.
I
You
started
have
as
many
a
volunteers.
we do. I started as a volunteer 8 years ago. Started out going a couple of days a week, ended up being there 7 days a week. I just loved it.
Did you always like animals?
I did. I've always had pets growing up, but I just fell in love with it. I started, like I said, 2 days a week, and before you know it, it was 7 days a week. I started working part-time as one of the on-call girls, and ended up here today. I really enjoy it. The shelter is it's just a joy. It really is. It's
Now,
so
it
nice.
is the Ernest Bell. What is the official title of
It
this?
is the Ernest Bell Animal Shelter, although we do ask people if they make any checks, donations to the shelter for banking purposes, they need to be made payable to the town of Swansea Animal Shelter for banking purposes. But it is the Ernest Bell Animal Shelter.
Ernest was a neighbor of mine.
Yes. Yeah, he, from my understanding, I didn't have the privilege to know him, but I talk to people all the time who come in. There was just a gentleman in there today talking about what a nice man he was, you know, just nice memories of him.
I remember, now I'm going to be 64.
Yep.
I remember when he was the only police officer in town. He was the police chief and
Wow.
ran the whole show.
Yeah.
And then worked as a volunteer.
Yep.
He was a very ardent volunteer
Yeah.
at Charlton Memorial Hospital for many years.
Yep.
Good neighbor and a good friend.
Yeah, we're lucky. We have a good, steady volunteer program.
Talk about that.
Oh, they're wonderful, the volunteers. I can't say enough about them. Honestly, animal control couldn't run the shelter without them. They come in daily. They do vet visits. They pick up animals early in the morning to do transport for spay and neuters. They do kitten visits. They're there every day, letting the dogs out, walking the dogs, cleaning, lots of cleaning. We do 5 to 6 loads of laundry, easy a day. All the animals always have clean bedding throughout the day, dog beds, the cat cages are clean throughout the day with new bedding. So we do lots of laundry. There's lots of cleaning, dishes. We had one volunteer there this morning. Unfortunately, when the town came to cut our grass last week, our play yard was locked and nobody was there. So we had a volunteer this morning cutting the grass in the yard. And in our beautifully donated, huge play yard, anonymously donated, at least 100 by 100 square feet. The dogs are having a ball in it. So they take care of so much at the shelter. We honestly, I love them. We couldn't do it without them. We really couldn't. They're amazing. They pour their heart and soul into the place. They really do. We laugh together. We cry together. They're just amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. I've made a lot of good friends.
How does one become a volunteer?
It's basically just signing up. We have a volunteer application that we use at the shelter, or you can get one online at the town's webpage. Filling out the volunteer application, which is basically a waiver. And then our volunteer coordinator usually makes some phone calls to set up when we have open spots for time and availability for people to come in and do the things they like. Some people just like to do the cat stuff. Some people just like to do the dog stuff. We have some volunteers who that specifically come to our yard sales every year. We have 2 big yard sales a year, one in the spring and one in the fall, which raises a lot of money for the shelter. And we have volunteers who spend their whole day there. That's a big day. 7 in the morning till 5, 6 o'clock at night. Set up, clean up. Project Spay comes to that event as well, which also helps her. She does a lot of trap, neuter, and release in town for the feral cats. So she helps out at that event as well. So those are our 2 big events. We have some volunteers who strictly do fundraising events, volunteers who come in and just do work at the shelter. Every single one is appreciated because they all do their part, and every part is necessary to run the shelter well.
Now, as for being a Swansea citizen, how much of the how much of a contribution do you get from the town?
The town supplies all the animal control aspect of it. So they obviously they pay the animal control salaries. They
Yeah.
take care of the building, the utilities, and all the work that comes along with the building, the maintenance of the building. We're allowed a pretty good budget to take care of the animal control matters in town. As far as the animals that go up for adoption, their vetting, their training, anything we purchase for them for fun stuff, that's all out of our donation account.
Now you have Ella today.
I have Ella today.
Can we see Ella?
We can see if we can take Ella out. Let's try not to lose Ella in the studio. Come here, Ella. Hi. Do you want to come out and say hello, Ella? Hi, yes.
Oh, she's lovely.
This is Ella. Ella is...
Tell us about Ella.
Ella is 2.5 years old. Her and her brother were surrendered to the shelter, so she has a brother at the shelter as well. He's a little orange tabby guy. We're going to put Ella back because Ella's going to run all over the studio. Ella was surrendered with her brother at the shelter. Unfortunately, her owner was moving and couldn't take her with her, so they're our newest residents. They're very sweet. Ella is so sociable. Oh my goodness, she's like a dog. She's hiding, you call her, she comes out. Her brother is super nice too. He's a big orange boy with gold eyes. So we have about 6 adult cats right now at the shelter.
Now, if someone wants an adult or a kitten,
We do have a kitten.
how do they go about that process?
They can come into the shelter, visit with the animals. We always ask it's best to schedule an appointment this way because the animal control is in and out of the building a lot on calls all day. So if we're not in the building and there's not a volunteer there, the building is locked up. So if you schedule an appointment, you can come and visit. We do weekend appointments as well. Come and visit with the animals. Sit down if you see one that you like. We ask that you fill out an application. The application process is fairly short. And then once the application is approved and the animal is fully vetted, then they are ready to go home.
Now, what do you mean by fully vetted?
They are spayed. All the animals that come into the shelter are spayed or neutered. They're vaccinated for rabies and distemper. The cats are tested for feline AIDS and leukemia. The dogs are heartworm Lyme tested. And they're microchipped. So right now our adoption fee for the dogs is $140 and the cats are $95. Kittens, the process for the kittens is a little bit different because the kittens usually leave at about 8 or 9 weeks. So they leave the shelter with their first set of shots, and then per our contract, the adopters have to follow up with the rest of the appointments. We contract with a veterinarian, so as long as they use a veterinarian that we contract with, that $95 will cover all their kitten vetting through their spay, their microchip, so it will take care of all of that.
Excellent. That's
On occasion, we've had a pig at the shelter.
Yes, you were
We've had
telling
a
me
couple
about
of
that.
pigs. We've had a couple of pigs at the shelter. We actually had one pig years ago, Lucy, who came in and her owner couldn't keep her any longer. She was a house pet. And she was with us for a little while, and she actually went home with the previous animal control officer, Liz Patello. And then we had another pig named Rupert, who was kind of in transition, moving from one house to another. We've had a goat there for a short period of time, a stray goat. Yes, a stray goat. A chicken, a rooster. And rabbits, we take in rabbits now and then. An occasional rabbit will come into our shelter. And hamsters, you know, if we have room for small animals, a bird every now and then. So we have a variety, we do.
What is the age for volunteers?
All the
How old-
volunteers have to be at least 18 years
They
old.
have to be 18?
Yes, yep.
Okay, that's good to know. And you said some very unusual. What is a typical day for you? Is there a typical
There
day?
isn't a typical day. No, it can start anywhere off at, normal 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to, being called out in the middle of the night for someone who's found a dog that we have to go pick up. We're open, the building is open from 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. But clearly there's animals in the building, so somebody's always there. I have an assistant, Joni Stewart, who works with me, who's wonderful. And we have 2 on-call girls who are on call for the weekend, for emergencies only. But animal control works around the clock, 24/7. So after hours, it's not unusual that we get called out for a raccoon or a possum that might be hit by a car and still alive. Those are usually our nighttime calls, 10, 11, 12, 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll get called out for that.
And you'd be notified by the police department?
Yeah, we're on call. So we always tell people, if you do have an emergency, do not call the office hour, the office number, because after 5 o'clock, no one will answer that phone. 4 o'clock. If there's an emergency, you call your respective police department, and they will page us out for an emergency. So we'll go out for anything, that might be hit by a car, still alive, an animal that appears to be sick or injured, stray dogs that are found. Last night, a couple of nights ago, I got called out at 12 o'clock at night for someone who had found a dog. So we get paged out for that. Bats in houses we'll be getting there pretty soon. We have to go out, and there's bats in a home. We have to go take them out. So
how does one get a bat out of a house?
They're actually not too hard to catch, bats. They're pretty easy to catch. So we work 9 to 4, but we are on call for a lot of other things after that. And of course, any emergency personnel that we're called out for, we go out for that to assist with that as well.
How do you prepare for your role? Did you take any special training?
When I started, I had no training. I was, working under the previous animal control officer, and it's just, I do take yearly. I took a certification class that when I first started, that was a few months in training. I just finished a second long-term training that I did through NACA. It was a full week of 10-hour days of classes. And we have to keep up credits all year. So we go to a lot of different seminars and stuff. But it's certainly a job that you can prepare for, but not, because every case is kind of the same but different.
I'm sure you meet some very interesting people.
We meet a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting animals. Snakes, a lot of snake calls. We get a lot of snakes.
Really?
Yeah.
People were afraid.
We had a boa constrictor, a probably 6 to 8 foot boa constrictor in somebody's yard one year. He was huge.
And how do you capture him?
Thankfully, I was just on my way home from Home Depot with my husband, so we had just bought 2 garbage barrels. We were able to kind of corral him into an area, put the garbage barrel on top of him, slide a piece of plywood, and flip him into the barrel.
And what was the end result?
He actually went to, nobody called looking for him. He actually went to a reptile and raptor rehabilitator.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I believe he does shows now, yeah.
How do you make it all work? You work hard every day.
We work hard every day, yes. It's rewarding. It really is. It's hard getting out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and getting dressed, and because we don't do shift work. We work all day, and then, if we get called out at night, we get up and we go. But it just is, it's
rewarding. It must be very rewarding.
It is, yeah. It's nice to see, a dog that we've had for a long time go home, or, kittens get to their forever homes, and it's just, there's a lot more good than bad, that's for sure.
And you've got some beautiful animals.
We have some beautiful animals. We have two, I believe we have 3 dogs at the shelter right now. I believe one has a pending adoption, so she'll be leaving. But we have 2 dogs available right now, 2 large dogs.
When I went into the shelter the other day, there was a black lab mix.
Yes,
that was going to his forever home.
He left on Friday. He did.
And the family was so
ecstatic. Yes. We had a lot of tears. He had been with us for a while. We had a lot of tears going on, and it's funny. He was with us for a long time. We're just in the habit. I keep looking at his cage every morning, going to give him his treat or a bowl of food, and it's just, but it was nice. He's got a wonderful home with one of our volunteers. We couldn't have asked for a better home.
And the family was so happy.
Oh, they were. There were just lots of tears. There really was. So we're down to 2 dogs right now, which is good because the town had approved a budget for us to have all new floors put in the building. So we're having brand new epoxy floor finishes put in the entire shelter, indoor, outdoor kennels, the kennel area, the bathroom, the kitchen, the whole place. Next week we're going to be busy. Everything has to be moved out because they're coming to do the surface of the floors. So we're partnering. Most of our volunteers are going to pitch in and take some cats home, and we'll probably work with some neighbor shelters to just house our dogs for a couple of days, and hopefully we stay nice and low on dogs until this project is done, because right now we have 2 dogs available at the shelter.
Are dogs abandoned?
Most of the dogs that we get are found as strays and not claimed. I'd probably say most. We do have our surrenders. The black pit bull mix that we have there right now, Max, he's a surrender.
Why are dogs surrendered?
It's always for a lot of different, a variety of reasons. People moving, people having children and not having time. Sometimes animals can live together for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they decide that they're not going to get along. So, that owner has to make a choice. So that's how we got Max. Max was surrendered because he wasn't getting along with the other dog that he had grown up with. So we're finding he's not a big fan of other animals too much, but he loves people. Loves people. Just kisses you all day. So he's definitely a people person dog. He does need some leash training. He's only 2, so he's very active and jumpy. So when Max is adopted, he will come with some free training from the shelter. The shelter will provide.
Do you do training?
We don't do the training, but we will pay for the shelter will pay for some training classes for him with his new owner. And then we have another dog. Her name is Annabelle. She's a Portuguese Fila mix. She was actually found in another town, and we took her because they just didn't have a big volunteer program. And we wanted to make sure that she was out and socialized a bit. We think she probably was abused by the way she acted when she first came in. She's pretty timid with new people, so she's been with us a while. She doesn't always show so good because she is afraid of new people. It does take her a little while to warm up. And she does need an adult-only home for sure, but when she loves you, she loves you. She's the prettiest girl in the whole world to me.
Are some dogs there at the shelter for a long
Yeah,
period
we've
of time?
had, and unfortunately it is the pit bull mixes that stay, the bully breed dogs that stay the longest, mostly because a lot of insurance companies, it's hard to find homeowners that will cover the bully breed dogs, just like German Shepherds and Rottweilers.
Rottweilers
Yeah,
and things.
yeah, all the big dogs. So that's hard. We've had dogs stay with us, a couple of dogs, 16 months, 18 months. But again, we're fortunate. I think sometimes I see the dogs at the shelter more sometimes than I see my own dogs at home. We've got so many people who come in throughout the day. Our dogs get out for walks 2 to 3 times a day for walks, and then they get out in the play yard throughout the day. So they're always around people. So they're not, people come into the shelter and we have people come in and they're like, oh, it's so sad here. It's so sad. And it really isn't.
It isn't.
It isn't, no. Our cats.
It's quite a lively and very
It is. They
place.
come in and they see animals in cages, but they're usually not in cages. Most of the time in the morning, all the cats are out running around and they have their out time. Like I said, the dogs get out morning walks, afternoon walks. Animal control closes at 4, but we have volunteers that come back at night at like 7, 8 o'clock at night, and they close up the building for the night so the dogs aren't closed in from 4 o'clock in the afternoon when we leave. I go back a couple of nights a week myself to close, so they get out at 7, 8 o'clock again for another walk. Or last night I came in and one of the volunteers takes them out and plays with them for like a half hour each in the yard before they go to bed. So it's not a sad place. They have a good, safe environment. We have air conditioning in the summer, heat in the winter. They really don't go without.
They have a good life.
They have a good life until they find their home. They really do. They get to come out.
And it should be a forever home.
And it should be a forever home. But we always take our animals back, no matter what. If you can't keep an animal, if you've adopted it from us, if it's 5 years down the road and you need to return it, we'll take it back.
What about people who, unfortunately, their owners pass away?
Yep.
What happens? That's becoming, as we
It is.
age,
Yes. Yep.
it's becoming a very serious
we've
problem.
taken in a lot of dogs where the owners have either passed away or had to go into a nursing facility and could no longer care for their animals. And you know, we've taken in a 13-year-old dog that I said, oh, she's going to be with us forever. It's going to be so hard to find a home for a 13-year-old dog. And we put her picture up, and I would say within 3 days she had a home.
Now, you advertise pets on
We
Facebook?
We do them on Facebook. They go on Pet Finder. We go to a lot of events. So we've got an event coming up at Tractor Supply on the 24th of August.
With Liz.
Um,
And we're going to have to end this. This has been fascinating. And we're going to have Liz to come back. There's so much to talk about. But we'd like to thank you, and we'll see you at the next show. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. This is fun.